Our presentation gives an overview of individual differences in leaders. This is being presented by Jessica Sofel, Rihanna Doyle, Lacey Crescia, and Ellen Wickersham. Today we'll be discussing our multi-team systems and leadership with a more in-depth analysis on 5 facets of leadership. We'll also be discussing a model of leader attributes and leader performance, followed by leadership features and multi-team systems, and then we'll wrap up with a conclusion and key takeaways.
During the keynote address at the Center for Collaboration Science annual seminar, Dr. Stephen Zucchero talked about multi-team systems in leadership. In particular, he introduced the concept of the 5 facets of leadership. Dr. Zucchero noted that leadership plays a large role in facilitating innovation within a team. However, he also noted that research on leadership has historically been very fragmented. The 5 facets of leadership is a way to provide integration with consistent terminology, because if somebody is discussing leadership, they are probably talking about one of the 5 facets. The 5 facets of leadership are functions, focus, forms, features, and forecast. Functions are leadership activities that facilitate processes. Focus is the target of leadership influences. Form is the pattern that leadership takes. Features are attributes or characteristics of leaders or leader sets, and forecast is how leadership continues over time. The features facet is directly related to individual differences in leaders. Features play a role in the success of teams, whether it is one single team or a multi-team system. Individual differences in features can be analyzed based on the type of team it is in order to predict success of a team. The effects of these differences or features usually vary when combined with the other facets. Further research is warranted in this area in order to gain a deeper understanding of how the features facet ties into success of different types of leadership within the other 4 facets.
The effect individual differences have on leadership has ebbed and flowed throughout the years. Initially, leaders were thought to have certain traits or characteristics that made them effective. Then it was thought that the situation defined whether somebody was an effective leader. And now, both individual differences and the situation work together to determine whether a person is an effective leader or not. And that brings us to a model of leader attributes and leader performance. And this is based on the belief that leadership emerges from combined influence of multiple traits. First, you have your distal attributes, which are basically the foundation for the growth of situational and proximal personal characteristics, which are your next attributes. Each of those sets of circles have overlap within them, and that basically means that those attributes or characteristics must work together to influence the overall outcome. And after those attributes, then you have your leader processes, or your problem solving, and then that will lead to your leader emergence, your leader effectiveness, and then your advancement and promotion. And then while all of that is going on, you also have to take in consideration the leader's operating environment or the situation that they are in, because overall that is going to affect your proximal attributes, your processes, and then ultimately how effective you were as a leader.
There are 6 leadership features or traits that Dr. Zucchero has outlined in his research. They are motives and needs, cognitive capacities, problem-solving skills, tacit knowledge, personality, and social capacities. Motives and needs are why does the leader want to be a leader? The cognitive capacities are that leader's general mental abilities. Their problem-solving skills, of course, are how well they can solve a problem. The tacit knowledge is that individual's knowledge in that subject or area. Personality and social capacities are very important within a team, and that is the ability for the leader to get the team to buy into their idea and to go in and want to be that person's team member. It is also important to take into account the nature of where the leader comes from. If they're an internal leader, they usually will be there more often. They also usually have an internal stakeholder within the company to report to. If they're an external leader, That has to do more with a mentor type of a leader. And some of the time, they may not be reporting directly to a stakeholder within the company or with an organization. And they may have difficulty being there all the time, like an internal leader would. The next thing to take into account is leadership within an MTS. There is two leadership MTS styles that Dr. Sakaro presented in his presentation. The first is a shared leadership style, and what this has to do with is there are many different team members with diverse expertise, and based on the expertise, there's several different changes of leadership that would happen within a project depending on what expertise is needed for that section. This, of course, has a lot to do with, and whether or not this would work, has a lot to do with the cultural norms within certain societies. A good example of this would be in China, where this shared leadership style probably wouldn't work very well, considering that they usually have one domineering leader within a certain team or a certain MTS. The vertical leadership style, which is much more like a Chinese type of a style, is where one leader is responsible to all the stakeholders. Therefore, that leader needs to have an extremely strong ability to sway and to direct its team members. There also is two other types of leadership, and one is a directive type of leadership where all the members have a high self-efficacy, where basically the leader can tell each member what to do and he knows that they'll go and do it. Then the other leadership style is a coaching leadership style, which is where the leader is highly charismatic and can get his team members to work for him and doesn't have to be so directive in nature. And this also has to do with when they are have high personality and social abilities with a high emotional IQ.
To conclude our presentation today, we discussed the 5 facets of leadership, which are function, focus, form, features, and forecasts. We also went into an in-depth analysis on single multi-team systems. We also reviewed leader attributes and leader performance. One of the takeaways we want you to take from this presentation was that leadership emerges from combined traits. Also, a leader's environment and process can influence how effective they are. Lastly, we reviewed leadership features and traits. What we want you to take away from this is that various leadership traits help determine their style and contrast. Also, the situation matters along with attributes. For more information on our references, you can view the next slide. Also, in addition, we do have an appendix with more information on leadership differences as it relates to the career and experience drivers.